everyone, and thank you for joining the session. Today we'll be exploring how to move from gathering user requirements to designing a system, specifically focusing on a digital library system. Over the course of this presentation, I'll guide you through how different members of the software development team work together to understand and analyze what the users need. We'll see how business analysts play a key role in collecting detailed requirements, how developers assess these needs to determine what's technically possible, and how QA or test engineers validate the requirements by creating test scenarios to ensure everything functions as expected. This collaborative process is crucial to building a system that truly meets user expectations. Let's get started, and I look forward to walking you through each step. I'm Joglu Sarwar, and here we focus on analyzing the digital library system through several important angles. First, usability testing was carried out to make sure the user interface is straightforward and easy to use, which is key for a system meant to serve a wide range of users. This involved input from the business analysts who gather detailed requirements about what users need and expect. Then developers evaluated the technical feasibility of implementing these user-friendly features. At the same time, quality assurance engineers designed test scenarios to validate these requirements by simulating real user interactions. Moving on, system performance was benchmarked to confirm the system operates reliably and responds quickly under various conditions. This step helps ensure smooth access to resources without frustrating delays. Security is another critical area where the team reviewed protocols to spot any weak points that could put data at risk, ensuring user information stays protected. Throughout this process, feedback from all involved roles was gathered and analyzed, leading to thoughtful recommendations aimed at enhancing the system's overall functionality and user satisfaction. With this comprehensive approach, the team works together to build a digital library that is not only practical but also secure and efficient. Let's move to the next slide, where we will discuss the software design phase. Let's take a look at the agenda for today's discussion, which will guide us through the key aspects of the software requirement specification, or SRS, for the digital library system. We'll start by clarifying the purpose and scope of the project to set a clear foundation. Then we'll identify the primary stakeholders and users, which helps us understand who will interact with the system and what their needs are. From there, we'll dive into both the functional requirements, which define what the system should do, and the non-functional requirements, which cover qualities like performance and security. After that, we'll review the database and data model to see how information is structured and managed. We'll also explore how our team approaches analyzing these requirements, highlighting the processes and artifacts involved, such as documentation and diagrams. Next, we'll connect these requirements to design decisions across the user interface, APIs, database, and security measures to ensure everything aligns. To illustrate this connection, we'll provide an example of traceability and discuss acceptance criteria, which are essential for validating that the system meets the agreed requirements. Finally, we'll wrap up with a demo script and walkthrough, followed by next steps to keep the project moving forward smoothly. Throughout this process, it's important to recognize how different team members contribute. Business analysts gather and clarify needs, developers assess technical feasibility, and Q&A engineers create test scenarios to confirm everything works as expected. This collaborative approach ensures we build a system that truly meets user needs and project goals. Document, called the Software Requirements Specification, or SRS, serves as a detailed guide for the digital library system. Its main goal is to clearly communicate what the application needs to do, including both the functional aspects, like the features users will interact with, and the non-functional aspects such as performance, security, and usability. Gathering and understanding these requirements is a collaborative effort. Business analysts work closely with stakeholders to capture what the system should accomplish. Developers assess how these needs can be implemented technically, and Q&A engineers use this information to design tests that ensure the system meets expectations. Having a well-defined SRS helps keep everyone aligned throughout development and ensures the final product delivers real value to its users. And the scope of this library management system is designed to be a PC-based application connected to the internet, which allows users to easily search for books and seminars from anywhere. At the same time, library staff will have tools to efficiently manage the book inventory and maintain the user database. This means the system will support both user-facing features, like searching and browsing, and administrative functions, such as updating records and tracking book availability. Throughout the development process, our business analysts work closely with stakeholders to gather these requirements, while developers assess how to build these features effectively. Meanwhile, Q&A engineers create test scenarios to ensure that all functions meet user needs and work smoothly. This collaborative approach ensures the system is practical, user-friendly, and meets the real needs of everyone involved in the library's operations. Now let's focus on the primary stakeholders and user roles involved in the digital library system. Understanding who will interact with the system and their specific roles is essential for defining clear requirements. Typically, business analysts engage with these stakeholders to gather detailed needs and expectations. Developers then analyze these requirements to determine what is technically feasible and how best to implement the features. Quality assurance or test engineers use the stakeholder insights to create effective test scenarios that ensure the system meets user needs and functions correctly. By clearly identifying each stakeholder and their role, the team can align development efforts with real-world usage, ensuring the system serves its intended audience effectively. Let's move forward to discuss the key functional and non-functional requirements next. Now, let's focus on the key functional requirements. These are the essential features and capabilities that the digital library system must have to meet user needs and business goals. Understanding these requirements involves a collaborative effort across the team. Business analysts work closely with stakeholders to gather detailed user needs, ensuring nothing important is overlooked. Developers then analyze these requirements to determine how to build the system efficiently and identify any technical challenges early on. Meanwhile, Q&A and test engineers use the requirements to design test cases that will validate the system's functionality, ensuring it performs as expected once developed. This step is crucial because clear, well-defined functional requirements guide the entire development process and help prevent misunderstandings or costly changes later. With these key functions clearly identified, the team can move forward with confidence, knowing the system will deliver the right features to users. Let's move to the next slide, where we'll explore the non-functional requirements that support overall system quality and performance. When we look at the key non-functional requirements, security is a top priority. The system uses role-based access, so only users with the right privileges can update accounts or generate specific reports. This helps protect sensitive data and ensures accountability. In terms of reliability and availability, the system is designed to be up and running 99% of the time during operating hours, with the ability to recover from issues within 10 minutes and keep scheduled downtime to less than an hour a day. This minimizes disruptions for users. Usability is also crucial. The interface is user-friendly with clear navigation, accessible help options, and informative error messages that keep users informed about their actions. Plus, features like cut and paste support make everyday tasks easier. Finally, the system is built to be extensible, meaning it can support new media types, synchronization features, and future components as the library's needs evolve. Each of these requirements is carefully analyzed and validated by the team, with business analysts gathering detailed input, developers ensuring technical feasibility, and Q&A engineers creating tests to confirm everything works as expected. Let's move to the next slide where we will discuss the database and data model overview. Now let's focus on the database and data model, which are essential for organizing and managing all the information within the digital library system. This involves designing how data about books, users, and staff is stored and related to each other in the system. The development team works closely to define the structure, ensuring it supports efficient searching, updating, and reporting. Business analysts help identify the key data elements based on user requirements, while developers translate these into a logical and physical database design. Q&A engineers then validate that the data flows correctly and that the system handles data securely and reliably, following the non-functional requirements we discussed earlier. This collaborative effort ensures the database supports the system's functionality and performance needs effectively. Now let's move on to how the team approaches analyzing the requirements. This process is a collaborative effort where each member plays a key role. The business analysts start by gathering detailed requirements from stakeholders to make sure everyone's needs are clearly understood. Then, the developers review these requirements to assess technical feasibility and identify any potential challenges. Meanwhile, the Q&A and test engineers focus on validating the requirements and designing test scenarios to ensure everything will work as expected once implemented. By working together this way, the team can create a solid foundation that guides the development process and helps prevent misunderstandings or issues later on. This analysis step is crucial for building a system that meets both user needs and technical standards. Let's move ahead to the next slide, where we'll explore the design considerations in more detail. Now, let's take a look at the traceability matrix. This tool helps the team keep track of how each requirement is linked to its corresponding design elements, development tasks, and testing scenarios. It ensures that nothing gets overlooked as we move from gathering requirements to building and validating the software. Business analysts start by capturing clear requirements. Developers review these to assess technical feasibility, and QA engineers use the matrix to create precise test cases that verify every requirement is met. By maintaining this connection throughout the project, we can confidently manage changes and ensure the final product aligns with what stakeholders need. Let's move on to the next slide, where we will discuss how this process supports overall project quality. Now let's focus on how we map the requirements we've gathered to the actual design of the system. This step is crucial because it ensures that every functional and non-functional requirement is addressed in the architecture and components we build. The whole team plays a role here. Business analysts help clarify the requirements. Developers translate those into technical designs and solutions. And Q&A engineers start thinking about how to validate these through testing scenarios. By creating clear links between requirements and design elements, we maintain traceability and make sure nothing gets overlooked, which ultimately leads to a more reliable and secure system that meets user needs. Let's move on to the next slide, where we will dive deeper into how this mapping is documented and tracked. Now, we'll move into the demo script and walkthrough section. This part will guide us through how the requirements we've discussed come to life in the actual system. It's important to see how each team member's role contributes here. Business analysts ensure the features align with user needs. Developers translate those needs into functional code. And QA engineers create test scenarios to validate everything works as expected. By walking through the demo, we can better understand how the design and requirements map to real-world use, and how security, reliability, and other key non-functional aspects are implemented in practice. Let's take a closer look at how the pieces come together in action. Now, let's take a moment to consider the potential risks that could impact our project and how we can address them effectively. Identifying these risks early allows the whole team, from business analysts to developers and Q&A, to collaborate on strategies that reduce their likelihood or lessen their impact. For example, unclear requirements might delay development, so continuous communication and thorough analysis help clarify expectations. Technical challenges can be managed by involving developers early to assess feasibility, while Q&A can prepare test scenarios to catch issues quickly. By staying proactive and working together, we can navigate these risks smoothly and keep the project on track. Move on to the final slide to wrap things up and share some closing thoughts. Next, we'll focus on the concrete steps to move our project forward. First, we need to finalize the acceptance criteria for the top 10 items in the software requirement specification. This ensures everyone agrees on what success looks like for these key features. Then, we'll create clickable prototypes for both the patron and admin user flows, which will help us visualize the experience and identify any usability issues early on. We plan to run one usability session for each prototype to gather real user feedback. On the data side, we'll develop a migration plan and build a sample ETL process to handle 1,000 legacy records, making sure data moves smoothly into the new system. Finally, we'll build a traceability matrix that links requirements directly to test cases within our continuous integration pipeline, helping us maintain clear coverage and track progress. Each team member's input is crucial here, from business analysts refining the criteria, developers preparing the prototypes and migration scripts, to QA engineers setting up the test cases. This coordinated effort keeps everything aligned as we move toward implementation. As we wrap up, the main point to remember is that the software requirements specification, or SRS, sets clear goals for both functional and non-functional aspects of the project. Our job as a team is to take each item from the SRS and turn it into something concrete, design artifacts that can be tested, prioritize tasks to work on, and traceable tests to ensure everything meets the requirements. This process involves close collaboration between business analysts, developers, and Q&A engineers to make sure we fully understand, build, and validate the requirements. Now, before we finish, I want to ask if you'd prefer to have a ready-made slide deck with content and speaker notes so you can present it yourself, or if you'd rather have me convert the demo script into a step-by-step checklist for your first sprint to help guide your initial work. Thanks for watching, and I'm happy to answer any questions you have. Thank you for following along with the presentation. I appreciate your time and attention as we work through the key aspects of translating user requirements into actionable design and testing plans. If you have any questions or need further clarification about any part of the process, feel free to reach out. Thanks again for watching,